So recently I have been dabbling between using a PC, a custom built computer that I built myself, and a MacBook Pro. And here are my thoughts regarding switching from macOS to PC or MacBook Pro to a PC, like a custom built desktop, because PC stands for personal computer and it's like they're all personal computers. So PC is technically what people use, but it's not really right. Anyways, I have a few thoughts regarding my sort of transfer over to the PC space again, and what I think about that, what I miss about macOS, will I go over there full time, etc., etc. So let's begin. The first and the most important is obviously the power and the price to performance. I talk about price to performance a lot, yet I constantly purchase MacBook Pros. When you look at it, MacBook Pro is probably the worst at price to performance compared to any computer you could buy ever. Even if it's used, the price to performance compared to even an iMac or a Windows laptop or a custom built Windows PC, the MacBook Pro is probably the worst price performance. But if you get it for a fair price, it's okay. But in my case, it's just a lot different because I'm somebody who can get a pretty good deal on some good computer parts, and I have been able to do that with my computer that I'm currently using. It's an i7 6800K, 16 gigabytes of RAM, an X99 motherboard, an RX 480 that I use in my eGPU, and an M.2 SSD. So not the most overkill computer of all time, but a nice computer. Obviously, the X99 platform is at HEDT, so that's for more power-hungry users, or it used to be. Now that they come out with 8-core chips for consumers, whatever. Basically, what I'm using didn't cost me very much money. When you look at the price of that thing, I got the 6800K with the motherboard and an AIO for like $200, and everything else combined, roughly the price of that computer comes out to $400 to $500. Obviously, I got a lot of good deals on a lot of stuff, and I purchased all these things over the course of probably like 3 or 4 months. So it took me a really long time to get this computer to where it is now. But it is something to note that I have a 6-core computer with a desktop class graphics card, and it cost me less than any MacBook Pro I pretty much have ever purchased. So that is a pretty big step up in performance. 6 cores, desktop graphics card, yada, yada, yada. Next is Premiere Pro performance. I am somebody who uses their computer for like 2 things. One of them is watching YouTube, and the other one is editing videos. So I'm a relative power user most of the time, but the other part of the time I just watch YouTube. So I'm like 90% of computer users. So for me, having a powerful computer is certainly important. And the more powerful the computer, obviously, the better. But there is a law of diminishing returns when you get to a certain point. I think the point I'm at now is a point I was at almost a year ago when I had an 8600K computer. And that computer was really nice. It was really powerful. It could edit all the videos that I threw at it. It never choked up ever. It was great. That's sort of where I'm at now. I have a super powerful computer. Everything works really well. Editing videos is great. And using Premiere Pro is great. Obviously, the optimization isn't there, so when buying a Windows computer, you sort of have to almost overbuy in order to get the performance that you want, but I guess that's just sort of the nature of it. And with MacBook Pros, you can do a little bit more with a little bit less, but it still typically costs you a little bit more. Next is the elephant in the room, and that's Windows. I still don't like Windows very much, if I'm being honest. Some of their updates recently to Windows 10 have made it a better experience. I still don't like it. It's still not something that I prefer using. If I could, I would prefer to use Mac OS. Don't tell me to build a Hackintosh or tell me to use Linux, because I've tried to build Hackintoshes before and I don't like them. And I've tried to use Linux before and it doesn't have Premiere Pro, so there's no point. Don't get me wrong, MS-DOS, I mean Windows 10, it's totally fine. It's totally usable. It's functional in 2019. It just feels like It feels like a super old computer still. It feels like I'm running Windows 7 or Windows XP. It feels like I'm running a super old program. And I guess that Mac OS is sort of similar, but Mac OS always felt more 2019, I guess, if that's how I would describe it, than Windows did. Windows is hyper functional and it's really good for businesses and it's really good for most people. I just prefer Mac OS. I miss Mac OS. I miss all of the great features of Mac OS. I miss the trackpad a lot. I miss a lot of great things with Mac OS. But from what I found, Mac OS and Mac computers don't have the best compatibility. So, for example, my MX2S Master mouse is the mouse I use. Obviously, I'm a YouTube guy. Everyone uses that. And what I've noticed is that in Premiere Pro, the MX2S Master mouse works way better in Windows than it does in Mac OS. I'm not really sure why, but I guess it's fine because I'm used to using a trackpad in macOS, but it's something to note. I feel like more things are compatible with Windows and they work a little bit better than they would on macOS. But when you have something that's compatible with macOS, like a Thunderbolt display or a Cinema display, it works way better than anything does in Windows. So I guess that's sort of my little spiel on macOS versus Windows. It's fine, it's usable. I much prefer macOS. I much prefer the look of a MacBook. I much prefer MacBook and macOS over a Windows computer, but doing what I do, I feel like it's so much fun to try a new computer out all the time, and I always have a good time doing it. Even if the experience isn't as good as I would have liked it to be, it's still a ton of fun to try out new technology and different hardware and different components, and I don't know, I just have fun doing it. So obviously I switch a lot, but there are reasons for that. When I'm on macOS and when I'm using a Mac computer, I always feel like, and maybe this is oversimplified, but I've always felt like more creative. I don't know if that's stupid or not, but I've always just felt like whenever I switched from a Windows computer to a Mac computer, I always just felt like, I just felt more creative. I feel like I could just, I don't know why, I just did. I always felt like I made my best videos on a MacBook, but I've sort of gotten over that. I feel like this whole video has been edited on that Windows computer 6800K, RX 480, 16 gigabytes of RAM. It's all been edited on that computer, and that intro was probably the best piece of cinematography I've ever done. So at least I think so. So I think that I'm in my head a little bit with macOS and MacBook Pros. I definitely know that I'm biased towards those. My channel does better when I talk about MacBook Pros. That's just how it is. That's the nature of it. But switching to PC and Windows has sort of made me realize that macOS is great, and I will still use a MacBook Pro. It's my fiance's MacBook Pro, so I'm lucky that I can use a MacBook Pro and use a Windows computer. I don't have to choose one. But I guess what I've realized is having the choice is much better than forcing yourself to choose one, because both offer so many great things that it's tough to choose one. I think that if I had to, I would choose MacBook Pro and macOS, or an iMac and macOS. I would always choose a Mac computer if I had an unlimited amount of money, but I don't. And I would rather purchase new camera gear or different camera gear than a better MacBook Pro, as opposed to just building a Windows computer for way cheaper and then being able to invest that money into like camera equipment or other equipment that I would prefer to buy over a computer. So Windows definitely opens up the door financially to more things, but it's still interesting to me that there is this comparison, there is this conversation regarding MacBooks and Windows computers, because I think everybody who's ever only used a Windows computer should try a Mac. And anybody who's only ever used a Mac should try to build their own PC. I think it's an experience that everybody should do. At least from my experience, I know more about tech than the average person, than the average Joe. But I do still think that from my experiences, trying both is a good thing. If Linux offered Premiere Pro, I would definitely try that out a little bit further. I may try it with DaVinci, but for now, I'm stuck between either Windows or Mac OS. I like Premiere Pro. I just know how it works better. I don't like the subscription model, but I'm over that. I think the conversation is important. I would love to know why you guys use either a Windows computer or a Mac computer. There are huge advantages to both. To say that there aren't is wrong, but I prefer the advantages of Mac OS. I'm going to continue using the Windows computer. I'm going to see if I can figure out some tricks to make it more like macOS, to make it a little bit easier. For example, a simple thing that I prefer much more on macOS than on Windows is when Mojave introduced stacks. I love that. I love stacks. And also what I love is being able to take a screenshot super quickly and not have to like name it something and hit enter and it's on the desktop. In macOS, you just take a screenshot and it's there, and it's so much easier to access. From what I do, a lot of what I need is through screenshots, so using screenshots in macOS is way easier. Windows to me always feels like it's just a little bit blockier. Like Windows feels like Minecraft without RTX on, and macOS is Minecraft with RTX on. I'm a Minecraft YouTuber now. No, but seriously, Windows has always just felt blockier. Like there are motions you can do to switch between desktops in Windows, and it's so like rigid. It's so unpleasing to the eye. Whereas Mac OS switching between desktops it's way more fluid. It looks way better. It's way more intuitive, and that's just what I feel like Mac OS is. Mac OS is, I'll get out of your way, you do what you want to do. Windows is like, I'll try to get out of your way, but just know that this is software from 2001, 1995. I mean, it's not, but it's very similar to a lot of the original versions of Windows with like Windows XP and Windows 7. Not that those are bad, but it's in 2019, it just sort of feels like they're trying to put a Band-Aid on like a broken arm in some cases. It would be nice if they could just make the whole thing a little bit more fluid, maybe add a few more features that just felt like I was less in the way. I would love to know if you guys have any tips from moving to Mac OS to Windows, because I'm trying. I want to make it work because it's so much cheaper. It's way more powerful. Financially, everything makes way more sense in my head. But then I start using it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is why I always use Mac OS. So I'd love to know if you guys have some tricks for me that I could use in Windows to make the experience a lot better. But this is my experience. I prefer Mac OS, but Windows is okay. All right, thank you guys for watching the video. I'm Scott with Techno Eclipse. If you like the video, hit subscribe, hit that like button. Also, if you stuck around this long, I just want to give you a little thing about what's going on. I'm going to be starting a second channel where I could post content that I couldn't post on this channel. I have so many different video ideas that I would love to post on this channel, but Techno Eclipse is a tech channel. It's a MacBook Pro channel. That's just what it is. I get annoyed with it sometimes, but I figured, why get annoyed with it and why not just go into the MacBook Pros? People seem to like my opinions on them and like my thoughts about them. So why don't I just make a lot of MacBook Pro videos, and then I can make the other videos I want. So I'm going to be starting a second channel. It'll be linked down below. It was the old podcast channel. It's my name, it's my picture, it's everything like that. And that's just going to be my personal channel. It's going to show me and my fiance. It's going to be a little bit more intimate, I guess, with me and stuff that I'm more interested in, as opposed to only just MacBook Pros and only just tech. Obviously, I love tech and I love MacBook Pro, so it'll always have that sort of in there, I'm sure. But that's just what I want to talk to you guys about. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video. This has been Scott with Techno Eclipse. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. I'm blocking out the haters. That's not funny. That's not funny at all. Peace out.